Alright, Pokemon fan, time for another Dumb Ash moment. Say it with me now. Dumb Ash moment. We're talking about Gary Oak and Ash Ketchum's first Pokemon battle in the anime. This is at the tail end of the Orange Islands series. Actually, a pretty, some people might call it a filler arc. I feel like it's a bit more than that. True, it's not really a major region, but at the same time, I feel like it was a pretty good arc for what it was. We got Ash coming back. He just won the Orange Cup from Drake, defeating his Dragonite that strangely had like a dozen moves. I have no idea why, but it's just still a fun battle. I'm not gonna lie, it was still a great battle. But getting more to the point, we have Ash and Gary going head to head in a one-on-one Pokemon battle. Really a throwback, and like it's almost cut from the video games and put in the anime. We have Gary's Eevee versus Ash's Pikachu. And this was a bit conflicting as a kid, because when you watch the battle, it's like, well, Pikachu just defeated a pseudo-legendary. He took out Dragonite. How did he lose to an Eevee? Well, for starters, Dragonite had already been weakened from battles with Squirtle, Tauros, and Charizard. And Pikachu really didn't do anything to Dragonite. He only got into a position where Dragonite couldn't attack. And then with a full power Thunder, he was able to take it out. It's kind of a throwback to, well, actually not a throwback, a foreshadowing actually to when Ash took out, well, actually, when Ash's Pikachu tied with Tobias's Latios, where Pikachu used like a dozen Thunderbolts while on Latios's back. Though it was protected from full damage with light screen, so technically Pikachu hit it with like 6 Thunderbolts if you use it that way, and then it was able to win with a tie. So the same thing with Dragonite, it dodged a Hyper Beam, hopped on top of Dragonite's head and used a Thunder attack and won the match. So technically, even though Pikachu defeated Dragonite, it wasn't a one-on-one match. Dragonite had taken damage beforehand. Same thing with Pikachu, who was a bit exhausted from his battle with Ditto, but focusing on this one, Ash was definitely not in his state of mind that he was when he fought Drake. He just wanted to prove to Gary that he was a better trainer. And I think at that point, Gary actually appeared saving everyone from Team Rocket. And I think one of my favorite lines of dialogue was, well, Gary, I just won the Orange Cup. Well, congratulations, Ash, but that didn't really help much against Team Rocket now, did it? I was just like, dang, he has a good point. And it wasn't even Gary using his Neo Queen, which he had used against Team Rocket. No. He used Eevee. I love Eevee for starters, but with like Takedown, Skull Bash, Double Team, Reflect, Gary had a good mix of defense and offense there. With Ash, though, it just wasn't him battling as a calm, cool. You can tell before the battle even started that he was going to lose. Literally, because Gary, it wasn't like cocky Gary that we saw from like the Indigo League. It was more like a slightly matured Gary, but he wasn't, like above talking down to Ash. And it wasn't like, he started any kind of fight. Ash kind of like just wanted to throw it in his face. Well, hey, I won the Orange Cup, and I made it further than you in the Indigo League. But it's like, no, I've been training and getting stronger. So ever since Gary lost, it's like he didn't sulk around like when Ash lost to Richie. He was out there putting in work, and it showed, because Eevee was easily able to take down Pikachu. And it's not because Pikachu was weak or Pikachu got brought down to level 1 after coming from the Orange Elite. No. It was Ash just not thinking his way through. He was just rushing into attack blindly. He wasn't prepared for, the defensive style of Eevee. And I think before the battle, Tracy and Brock pointed out that Eevee looked like it was about to evolve soon, which we learned it evolved to Umbreon later on in Johto. But this was just not Ash's day. The fact that he has his first major battle with his rival and he gets creamed, like it would have been different if it was like, oh man, it can go either way. No, it was just Ash getting dominated by this Eevee. It was just, I know that sounded wrong, but it was Pikachu literally getting wrecked by this Eevee. And it just, I don't even blame Pikachu. It was just Ash not thinking clearly. He was just rushing in. Kind of like the Ash versus Paul full battle, but yeah, it just showed. It definitely wasn't one of Ash's finer moments as a trainer. But with that being said, it was pretty cool to see those two battle for the first time. But sadly, the only other time we see them in a competition is when there was like an extreme, what was it, extreme Pokemon. It was that episode where Ash won a race with Bayleaf and then Gary with his Arcanine, and he won the Fanfeet Pokemon egg. I think that's what happened. It wasn't even a battle. Then the next time we actually see them in a battle was the 6-on-6 in the the Silver Conference. But I feel like that's why Gary, even though he's one of the better rivals for Ash, he isn't the best. I feel like Paul takes that category because unlike Ash and Gary, Ash and Paul had several battles. We saw him in more episodes than Gary, and it really showed that he brought out a side of Ash that wanted him to get stronger. Gary's kind of like the thing that pushed Ash to new regions. Like, you know, he went to Johto because Gary did. He went to Hoenn because Gary, you know, well, then again, Gary is kind of like the one to quote unquote blame because what Professor Oak said that Gary just took his Blastoise and went to go train in another region. And that's when Ash decided to only take Pikachu at the beginning of every new region. So who knows? And not to mention, Gary was the one to inspire him to go to Sinnoh. But in any case, yeah, this was definitely not one of Ash's finer moments. It was a dumb Ash moment for sure because Ash, you're in your first battle with your major rival, and yet you're not even in your right state of mind as a trainer. So with that being said, as always, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Are there any other dumb Ash moments that you would like me to cover in the videos on this channel? Subscribe if you haven't done so as well, because I don't want you to miss out on anything related to Pokemon, Dragon Ball, or CW superhero shows like The Flash.